I never believed something as ordinary as a post-workout stretch could flip my world upside down, but that was before Alyssa. Before her hands touched my skin. Before her eyes, those dark, intense eyes, locked onto mine like she saw through every layer I'd spent years hiding behind. It started like any regular Thursday. I was sore, exhausted, and half limping after leg day at my local gym in Seattle. The air still smelled like iron and sweat, and my shirt clung to my back. I was reaching for my water bottle, head down, earbuds still in, when I felt a presence beside me, then a voice. "You're walking like you need a wheelchair," it teased. I turned my head, and there she was, Alyssa. I'd seen her around before always. Surrounded by clients or other trainers, someone too confident and beautiful to ever look twice at someone like me. But that day, she looked right at me and smiled like I was the only person in the whole damn gym. Her long, dark curls were pulled into a high ponytail, and a cropped hoodie hugged her body in a way that made it hard to remember how to speak. "Yeah, my quads hate me," I muttered, awkward and a little embarrassed. She laughed, this rich, throaty sound that hit me somewhere deep. "Come on, I'll show you a stretch. It'll hurt now, but you'll thank me tomorrow." And before I could say no, she was guiding me toward the stretching area in the corner. I laid down on the mat, and she knelt beside me, placing one of my legs into a deep hip flexor stretch. Her hands were firm, confident, yet gentle. Every movement she made was slow, controlled, almost intimate. She leaned over me slightly, her breath hitting my skin, and I swear I felt the air around us shift. The gym noise faded, the clanking of weights, the hum of treadmills gone. It was just us. "Breathe through it," she murmured, holding my gaze. My heart was hammering. Not from the stretch, from her. From how close we were. From the heat building between us that had nothing to do with exercise. When she shifted position, her thigh brushed mine, and I stopped breathing for a second. Her eyes lingered. I don't know how long we stayed like that, but when she pulled away, I felt exposed. Like she'd reached into me somehow, and now part of me belonged to her. "I'm Alyssa," she said, standing and offering her hand. I took it, told her my name. She held on a beat too long. "Well, if you survive tomorrow, maybe I'll see you again." I laughed, trying to keep it light. "Depends if I can walk." She smiled, walking away, but before she disappeared into the locker room, she turned back. "You should text me," she said, and slipped a small card with her number into my hand. "Just in case you need another stretch." That moment stuck with me all night. I kept replaying at her touch, her voice, her laugh. I even laid on my floor trying to replicate this stretch, but all I could think about was how she looked at me. Not just like a trainer helping a client, but like a woman who wanted more. I stared at her number for an hour before I finally texted her, "Still alive, barely. You were right, it hurts." But in a good way. A minute later, she replied, "Pain is just a message from your muscles. Dinner Friday." My chest tightened. I wasn't used to women like Alyssa asking me out. It was always me chasing, second-guessing, never sure. But with her, it felt different. Like she already knew how to read me. That night, I laid awake in bed, already imagining what that dinner might be like. Already wondering what it would feel like to kiss her. To have those hands on me, not just in a stretch, but in something more. Something real. And I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a one-time thing. That somehow, this woman I barely knew had already started changing something inside me. Asterisk, I didn't sleep much the night before our first date. Too wired, too restless. It felt ridiculous, like I was back in high school getting ready to see my crush at the movies. But this was different. Alyssa wasn't just someone I was attracted to, she'd already gotten under my skin in a way I couldn't explain. And as soon as I saw her walk into that downtown taco bar, jeans hugging her hips, hair tied up loosely with strands framing her face, I knew I was in trouble. She smiled when she spotted me small, knowing, like she could already sense how nervous I was. Relax, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. I'm not gonna bite unless you want me to. I laughed a little too loud, cheeks burning. That was the thing about Alyssa Shea, had this magnetic energy, this raw, unfiltered honesty that made everyone else feel like they were stuck behind a wall. She didn't have walls. Or if she did, she made you forget they were even there. We ordered tacos and beers, and the conversation flowed like we'd known each other for years. She told me wild stories from her college days, about being the only girl in her weightlifting club, about her first job training a retired ballet dancer who ended up teaching her how to move more gracefully. I told her about my dead-end marketing job, how I used to write poetry but hadn't in years, how lonely it felt coming home to silence every night. And she listened, really listened. Leaned in when I talked, nodded, asked follow-ups like she actually cared not just about the words, but what was behind them. As the night wore on, our banter got flirtier, more charged. Her foot brushed mine under the table and didn't move away. At one point, she reached across to wipe a bit of sauce from the corner of my lip, and the touch sent a bolt of electricity straight through me. When the check came, she snatched it. Before I could reach, "You can get the next one," she said, "assuming you survive tonight." Survive? I asked, eyebrows raised. She stood up slowly, her gaze steady and unreadable. "Come on," she said, "let's take a walk." The night air was crisp and a little damp, the pavement still glistening from earlier rain. We strolled without talking at first, her hand brushing mine occasionally, until finally she slipped. Her fingers between mine. Felt simple, easy, like we'd done it 100 times. Then we reached my car, and she turned to me, those eyes searching mine. "So," she said, tilting her head, "are you gonna kiss me, or do I have to keep making the first move?" I didn't hesitate. Leaned in, lips meeting hers in a soft, hesitant kiss that deepened faster than I expected. Her hand slid into my jacket, pulling me closer, and suddenly I didn't care who could see us. It was like my entire body had been holding its breath until that moment. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, she looked up at me with a mischievous smile. "Your place." My heart was pounding as we drove back. I couldn't believe this was real. How easy it all felt. How badly I wanted her. The second we stepped inside my apartment, it was like a switch flipped. She pressed me against the door, kissed me hard. And then we were everywhere, stumbling, laughing, shedding clothes like they were on fire. Her body was warm and strong beneath mine, and when she whispered my name in the dark, I swear it rewired something in me. There was heat, yes, so much heat, but there was also something softer underneath it. A tenderness I wasn't expecting. Afterward, tangled in my sheets, her head on my chest, we lay in silence. I could feel the steady rhythm of her breath, and it felt right. Like I wasn't alone anymore. Like maybe, just maybe, something real was beginning. I turned to her, brushing a damp strand of hair from her cheek. "Was that okay?" I asked, suddenly unsure. She smiled lazily, eyes still half closed. "It was exactly what I needed," she whispered. I smiled back, but something about the way she said it, so casual, so practice-made, something twist in my gut. Still, I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to ruin the moment. I just held her closer, not knowing yet that this night would be the start of something I'd never forget or fully recover from. I should have seen it coming. That's what keeps echoing in my head when I think back to the early days with Alyssa. Those perfect, intoxicating weeks when everything felt like a dream I didn't want to wake up from. We fell fast, faster than was smart. One minute we were tangled in bed sheets, still breathless from the kind of sex that leaves you aching for more. The next, she was leaving a toothbrush at my place, slipping my hoodie over her bare skin on lazy Sundays, stealing sips of my coffee like she already belonged there. And maybe that's what scared me, how Isalia started depending on her. Craving her voice in the morning, her weight beside me at night. How her laughter filled all the quiet places I'd been trying to ignore. But even in the middle of all that closeness, there were cracks, little ones. Like how she never let me take photos of us. Or how she changed the subject whenever I brought up the future trips. Moving in, meeting each other's families. Her answers were always light, always smooth, but just slippery enough that I couldn't hold on to them. "Why rush?" she'd say with a smile. "We're good right now. It's all that matters." But it did matter. It started too. I began noticing how she'd go silent when I asked about her past. The most I got was that she grew up in Ottawa, was once engaged to some guy who wanted her to stay home and act like a Barbie doll, and that she left before the wedding. That was it. Clean, easy, too easy. I told myself not to dig. Everyone's allowed secrets, but still her phone was always on silent. She never texted in front of me. She'd step out onto the balcony to take calls and come back with vague explanations. Just a client, she'd say, just my sister. But I never met that sister, never even saw a photo. And then there was that one night when I told her I was falling in love with her. It wasn't planned. We were on the couch, her body curled into mine like she belonged there, her fingers tracing little circles on my chest. It just slipped out. "I think I'm falling for you," I said softly. I didn't expect fireworks, but I also didn't expect nothing. She didn't move, didn't say a word, just kept watching the TV like she hadn't heard me. I gave a weak laugh to cover the hollow blooming in my chest. "Too soon?" I asked. Finally, she answered, voice barely above a whisper. "No, not too soon. Just not what I expected." And then she kissed me, slow and deep, like she was trying to rewrite the moment with her mouth instead of her heart. I let it happen. I told myself it was enough, but it wasn't, because something inside me knew. There was a part of her I hadn't touched yet, something she was guarding. I told myself I could wait, that she'd let me in eventually. I believed her when she said I was what she needed. When she curled into me after sex and whispered, "You're good for me." I thought that meant something. But Love Real Love It's not just about sex and laughter and shared playlists. It's about truth, about showing someone the parts of yourself you'd rather keep hidden. And Alyssa, she kept hers locked away like she was afraid of what I'd see if she let them out. Then came the night everything shifted. She said she had a late client and wouldn't be able to make it over. Just a normal text. Simple, casual, but something in me tightened. The gym closed early that night, and I knew that. I didn't even mean to go there, but I drove by just to see. Her car wasn't there, not at the gym. It was parked 2 blocks away in front of a quiet little bar we'd gone to once. I sat in my car across the street, watching, waiting, and then I saw her inside, sitting at a booth with a man I didn't recognize, tall, handsome, laughing with her like he'd done it 1,000 times. When they stood up to leave, they hugged, not just a friendly, polite goodbye. No, his hands lingered at her waist, her face pressed against his shoulder. And something inside me snapped. I didn't know who he was yet. But in that moment, I knew one thing with absolute, gut-sickening clarity. Alyssa wasn't just mine. She never really had been. Asterisk, I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, Alyssa's voice echoing in my head. "You're good. For me?" What a joke. I kept seeing her in that bar, laughing with him, like she belonged in his world. Like she fit into someone else's life just as easily as she'd slid into mine. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his hands on her waist, her smile. Pressed against his neck was like a film reel I couldn't shut off. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, to text her, to demand answers. But another part, the quieter, more dangerous part, just wanted to know why. Why she had to lie. Why she made me believe I was the only one. So I said nothing. I waited. And the next morning when she texted me a casual "miss you already. Last night was hell without you." I felt something cold and bitter settle deep in my stomach. I saw her that night. She showed up at my door like she always did, hair in a messy bun. Leggings, hoodie, that same effortless beauty that used to make my heart ache. Now it just made me angry. "Rough day?" she asked, leaning in to kiss me. I let her. Her lips were warm, familiar, and for one stupid second I wanted to pretend everything was fine, that I hadn't seen what I saw, that I hadn't started to feel like a placeholder in her life. But I couldn't pretend. Not anymore. I stepped back. "Who was he?" I asked, voice low, steady. Her smile faltered. "What? The guy from the bar? The one you hugged like you've done it 1,000 times?" Her face froze. For a second, just one, I saw it, the guilt, the flicker of fear. Then she masked it with practiced calm. "He's just a friend," she said. "An old friend. It's not what you think." I laughed, sharp and humorless. "No, because it sure looked like you forgot to mention him. It's just like you've forgotten to mention a lot of things." She stepped forward, eyes searching mine. "Please don't do this," she said. "Not like this." And I snapped. "Then how should I do it, Alyssa? How should I ask you why I feel like I'm the only one being honest here? Why every time I try to get close, you disappear behind a smile and a kiss and some line about not rushing?" Her shoulders dropped. She looked tired. Tired in a way I hadn't seen before. "I didn't lie," she said quietly. "Just didn't tell you everything." I waited, but she didn't continue. Just stood there, letting silence do the heavy lifting. So I asked the question that had been haunting me for days. "Are you seeing him?" She hesitated too long. "Not like that," she finally said, but it was too late. My trust, the fragile thing I'd been building piece by piece, cracked. Straight down the middle, she stayed that night. I don't even know why. Maybe because I couldn't bear to send her away. Not yet. Maybe because I needed one more night of pretending we were still okay. We didn't touch. We barely spoke. I lay beside her in the dark, listening to her breathe, wondering if she was thinking about him. Wondering if I'd ever been anything more than a detour. In the morning, she kissed me goodbye, like everything was fine. But I didn't kiss her back. I couldn't. Not anymore. Over the next few days, I tried to create distance. I kept myself busy. Ignored her texts. She sensed it. Of course, Alyssa was too sharp not to. One night she showed up unannounced, knocking softly on my door with takeout and that damn apologetic smile. "Can we talk?" she asked. And I let her in because I'm weak. 'Cause part of me still hoped there was an explanation that would make it all okay. And she gave me one. Or tried. She told me the guy was her ex-fiance. That they hadn't spoken in over a year until he reached out a few weeks ago. That she met him for closure. "I didn't sleep with him," she said. I swear. But I realized then it wasn't just about sex. It was about trust. It was about how she let me fall while keeping a safety net hidden somewhere else. And I wasn't sure I could forgive that. I didn't know it yet, but that night marked the shift. The beginning of the end. The moment when love stopped being warm and Siphon started feeling like a wound I couldn't stop touching. I used to believe that love, if it was real, would be enough. That if you loved someone hard enough, deep enough, they'd eventually choose you. Stay, fight. But Alyssa shattered that belief, slowly and painfully, like glass cracking under pressure. After her confession about her ex, I told myself I'd try to forgive, try to move past it. She swore it was just closure, that she chose me, that I was the one she wanted. And for a little while, I believed her because I needed to. Because the thought of letting her go felt like ripping out a piece of my own chest. We went back to our old rhythm diners, sleepovers, slow Sunday mornings, but something had changed. The warmth between us had a new edge, something unspoken and sharp. I noticed how her eyes wandered when she thought I wasn't looking. How she seemed distracted when we talked, like half her mind was somewhere else. I tried to be better, more affectionate, more patient, more understanding, but it started to feel like I was performing in a role. I wasn't sure she was still watching, And then came the night I found her phone on the couch. She was in the shower. And it buzzed twice, once with a name I didn't recognize, then with a preview that made my stomach turn. Miss you. Can't stop thinking about your mouth last night. My hands shook. I didn't even want to open it. Didn't want to. No, but I did. I opened the message thread, and what I saw wrecked me. Dozens of texts, photos, flirty banter, a hotel address. It wasn't just her ex. It was someone else. Someone new. She was doing to me what she probably did to him, smiling while she lied, holding me while she drifted into other beds. I felt sick, betrayed, stupid. I wanted to scream, throw her phone across the room, erase every memory of her body, her laugh, her damn scent that still lingered in my sheets. But I didn't. I put the phone down, sat on the edge of the bed, waited. She came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, humming to herself like everything was normal. She saw my face and stopped. "What?" she asked, instantly on guard. Didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked her in the eye and asked, "How many?" Her face crumpled like she'd been punched. "What are you talking about?" she whispered. But she knew. We both did. "How many people have you been sleeping with while telling me I'm the one?" I said, my voice low, hollow. For the first time, she didn't lie. She didn't scramble or deny it. She just sat down beside me, her body heavy with guilt. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "It just happened." I was scared of how fast this got, of how much you see me. I wanted to laugh in her face. "You cheated because I loved you too well." But I didn't have it in me. I just stared at her, the woman I thought I knew, and felt this deep, aching emptiness swallow me whole. She tried to explain, to justify it. Told me she'd been broken before we met, that she wasn't built for commitment, that she sabotaged anything real before it could hurt her. "I thought I could change," she said. "With you." I really did. I stood up. I couldn't listen anymore. "You don't change by lying, Alyssa," I said. "You don't change by keeping your escape route open while someone else is burning for you." She cried, then real tears, I think. But it was too late. I packed her things in silence, handed her the bag at the door, and watched her leave without saying another word. And when the door closed behind her, I broke. I collapsed onto the floor and let myself sob like a child gut deep chest hollow. Sobs that ripped through everything I thought I was. Not just because I'd lost her, but because I'd believed in her. The worst part? I still missed her. Even after all of it, even knowing the truth, love doesn't turn off like a switch. It lingers in the bones. And in that empty apartment, surrounded by all the echoes of her, I finally realized heartbreak isn't the opposite of love. It's the proof of it. Asterisk. Theirs. This quiet, unbearable moment that hits after a breakup, after the chaos, after the yelling, after the door clicks shut behind them for the last time. It's not rage. It's not even sadness. It's silence. Heavy, all-consuming silence. The kind that settles into the walls, the sheets, the toothbrush she left behind in the cup next to yours. That's what I woke up to every day for weeks after Alyssa left. Not just her absence, but that silence. Kept thinking I'd hear her key in the door, that her voice would echo down the hallway again, playful, teasing, that she'd come back and tell me it was all a horrible mistake. But she didn't. She stayed gone, and I stayed broken. I went through all the stages: anger, numbness, bitterness. I stopped going to the gym because every time I walked in, I saw her. That first stretch, the first flirtation, the spark in her eyes. It all played on loop in my head like some cruel romantic highlight reel. I deleted her number, blocked her on social media, but still found myself checking every now and then, torturing myself with the idea that she might have missed me, that maybe she was just as wrecked as I was. I started running again alone, at night in the cold, just to feel something sharp, something I could control. And slowly, I began to remember who I was before her. The guy who read poetry, who cooked real meals, who laughed without second guessing whether it would be used against him later. I didn't want to hate her, but I did. God, I did. For a while, and then one night, weeks after she left, she texted me just one line. I'm sorry. I think about you every day. Was like a wound tearing open all over again. I stared at it for a long time. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I typed 100 replies and deleted them all. Because what was left to say is that I still loved her, that I hated her for breaking me open and walking away. Did she ruin something I'll probably never find again? In the end, I just put the phone down and let it go. For real, this time, it wasn't easy. Healing never is. Dated again carefully, slowly. I met someone sweet, someone honest. But even then, there were nights I'd catch myself comparing. Her laugh to Alyssa's, wondering what I could have done differently. And I hated that. I hated how one person could leave fingerprints on your soul long after they're gone. But here's what I've learned. Not every love is meant to last. Some are meant to teach, and Alyssa, she taught me everything. She showed me the high of connection and the pit of betrayal. She showed me how much I could feel and how much I could survive. She forced me to look at myself honestly, to figure out why I stayed, why I gave so much to someone who couldn't meet me halfway. And maybe that's what love is sometimes. Not the fairy tale, but the lesson. I still think about her some nights, not with anger, not even with longing, just with memory. Like a scar that doesn't hurt anymore, but still stings when the weather changes. I wonder if she ever changed. If she ever found someone she didn't push away, or if she's still running, still sabotaging, still kissing people with fire in her mouth and leaving before it burns her back. I'll never know, and that's okay, 'cause I made it through. She helped me stretch after the gym. And then she stretched me in ways I didn't know I could break. And somehow, I'm still standing. Maybe that's the twist no one talks about. The real love story is the one you find with yourself after they leave, after the storm. When you finally look in the mirror and realize the person who crawled through, that pain, who got up off that cold apartment floor and started again, was always worth loving, all along.